Perfect. Okay. You're muted.
Thank you. All right, we are all set. I will go ahead and share my screen so we can get started with the art show. Okay, can everyone see the screen okay?
Yes, looks good, Emily.
Amazing. So before we unveil our wonderful art submissions for this year, we wanted to touch on some key points about why Pride art is so important. So the first thing we have listed here is that we really want to celebrate the queer experience. Pride is a time where we are all coming together as a community and celebrating each other and everything that makes us who we are and special, and celebrating the queer experience. It's super unique and it's super special. And it's really important that we're highlighting the LGBTQ community and uplifting their voices. The second thing we have listed here is we want to discuss and express our identities. We really want, this is something to be proud of. LGBTQ pride is something to, again, yeah, it's pride. It's something to be proud of. It's something to celebrate. It's not something to be shameful of or to live in fear of. And we're here to, again, like uplift these experiences and show them on display. The third thing we have listed here is positive representation. And I'm going to let Amy discuss a little bit more about why positive representation is so important, but we don't have a lot of it. And so any positive representation that shows our community is so important. Amy, would you like to take that away?
I would love to. You know, this is one of my favorite soapboxes. So when we're talking about positive representation in media, especially for LGBTQ voices, the reason we focus so hard on that is because that for a really long time, there was an actual law that stated that you could not have positive LGBTQ representation. It was called the Haze Code. It was part of like a Hollywood morality clause for about 20, 30 years. And we're still feeling the pushback from that, even decades after that law and that morality clause was taken out. So what that clause said was that you could have LGBTQ representation, no problem. That's not an issue at all, except somebody has to die. Somebody has to have some horrible addiction or some illness, or there has to be a terrible breakup. Whatever happens has to make it so that an LGBTQ lifestyle does not look appealing to our youth, to our society. And we're still feeling a lot of that recoil. There's something called queerbaiting that still exists in TV shows where they'll sort of dangle these carrots of maybe an LGBTQ centric storyline, only to take that away at the last minute or to have that character come out and then that character is gone. There's something called queer coding, which happened quite a bit in Hollywood, where they would code characters under sort of stereotypical LGBTQ type behavior. They would code these characters with these stereotypes so that people could still find representation in media without it being blatantly LGBTQ. It's really difficult still to find books. If you go into Barnes and Noble with a whole list, it's a miracle if you find a couple. That's not to say that we're not doing well with sort of marching forward. We are seeing a lot more representation. We're seeing a lot more diversity. We're seeing a lot more inclusivity. But the reason we're seeing that is because we have so many voices pushing for that, including our allies who step up, including the people who are doing this work day in and day out. So that positive representation is not to be like, oh, we're special and we want special treatment. It's to say, we want to find stories that are about people who look like us, similarly to how you get to have stories about people who look like you. It's just being able to find yourself and your place in the world and to know that you get to exist. So that positive representation is a piece that we're always looking for, and it's something that we're always pushing for. And luckily, we're in a great position where we're seeing more and more of that.
Thank you so much for bringing that home, Amy, because that is such an important point. I don't think many people understand like how far, like how deep representation of LGBTQ relationships in media is, how far back it goes. And it goes so far back. Like we are still paying for the history of LGBTQ representation. And that's why Pride Art is so important. Our last point that we have listed here is exploration of intersectionality. And this is so important because the queer experience that we're talking about is not the same for everybody. We have so many different identities in the LGBTQ community, and even people who have the same identities have other aspects of themselves and other identities in their lives that make their queer experience different than someone else who may identify the same as them. For example, Amy and I we both identify as queer women, and yet our queer experiences could not be more different from each other when you like write it down on paper about what other things that we have had to experience. And our different intersections of identities, like that's what creates those different experiences. And it's really important that we highlight all of them because all of them are valid and all of them are important. Audrey, as the lovely person who helped put together this wonderful presentation and this slide, was there anything you'd like to add?
No, I mean, I might add a couple of things, but both of you touched on some awesome stuff. And I think it's so important, as a, cis, straight woman who, is trying to be the best ally as I can. It's important for me to see all these experiences as well, because, I have been thankful I haven't had to deal with that. And I've always had positive representation for the most part in media, and, had people that looked like me. And the intersectionality piece is so important, I think, too, is we have so many different backgrounds and not necessarily having to have to live those experiences, understanding those experiences and recognizing and validating those experiences, when talking about race, because those are other layers, cultural differences, ethnicities, even like class, like a difference in class. That adds so many different layers to the struggles and the maybe more specific experiences those people have dealt with, and how they became them, and their identity. And I think it's so important because it makes us who we are. And I'm just so excited because I've learned a lot over at least the last couple of years for sure. Is I honestly don't remember seeing a lot of LGBTQ representation in art and like photography and painting and drawing and music and all this wonderful stuff that we every day are surrounded by, and I think it's so important because there's all these wonderful people that aren't being represented that I'm surrounded by daily, and I think it's so awesome. So I was so excited to see this artwork. I mean, I'm also not very talented at drawing, so I was just so excited, like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. We saw a lot of digital art, which was so cool, just amazing. And just like, I love seeing them, these kids especially that are doing this art. And I mean, adults too, is they're able to express themselves how they want to. And I think that's so important. So I don't want to talk all day though, so I'll let you go back to it, Emily.
No, thank you. You really expanded on the idea of intersectionality in the way that I really wanted to convey that there are so many different kinds of identities that when you look at the intersections of all of them, that's why everyone's experiences look so different. Thank you so much for sharing that. Yes, and if anyone else has anything that they would like to say, the chat is open, and this is a super informal showing. You could say that this is a private showing. So again, please, if you would like to just put yourself off mute and contribute, I would absolutely love that. So we are going to start getting into the submissions. We've got a great handful of submissions, and the way our submission form worked was everything was super optional as far as if someone wanted to identify themselves as the artist, if they wanted to contribute any kind of context around the art, anything that they wanted to say, like their inspiration. all of that was optional. So we have some submissions that have like background details about the piece. We've got some great we've got the artists who wanted to share their names and their identities. We've also have some really cool secret submissions, and all of them are wonderful. So we will go through all of them. And again, like the chat and the conversation are both totally open. So without further ado, let's go to the first submission. Oh my goodness. So this first piece, it looks like there isn't any identifying information that the artist wanted to submit with the piece. However, when we look at it, it looks like they did a wonderful digital piece of different pride flags, and made a different person for each pride flag. So look at that. Isn't that neat?
And Emily, I want to point out the intersectionality that exists in this piece, the different backgrounds and people that are represented in this piece, you know, people of color, people with disabilities, ethnicities, you know, and you can see that just based off of, you know, the picture, but obviously there's so much more behind the picture. They always say a picture is worth 1,000 words, but I was looking at this piece and I was just so, you know, amazed about how they captured all of that in one picture.
Absolutely. I know the representation here is wonderful. Oh, I just moved our little floating heads in the corner too. So I really got to get a good look at Gay Gabe, and see like that representation too of different abilities. That's amazing. It looks like every pride flag, like they've also been named. So we have Gay Gabe, we have lesbian Eliza, we have non-binary Noah, we have bisexual Bianca, pansexual Penny, transgender Tristan, and it looks like asexual, is that?
I think Alri is how it's pronounced. I might be
Oh.
pronouncing it wrong. So I apologize if I pronounced it wrong. I think it's Alri.
Oh my gosh, that's wonderful.
Do you notice they actually color coordinated the outfits with the flags too, which I thought was so cute.
I also love that it just opens up the space for everybody to belong at Pride. You hear a lot of times, "Oh, I don't know if I'm welcome at Pride," or "I don't know if I belong." And I think that this piece of art shows that if you exist, you belong. And I think that's such an amazing message to send out to everybody, especially for our friends who are newer in their identity journeys. This shows you that you exist as you are and you belong as you are, and there's always space for you.
That was so beautifully said. Absolutely. That's definitely what I get from this piece too. Everyone is welcome in this piece. Amazing. Okay. Well, that was a great first start. Let's go to our next submission. Oh my gosh. So it looks like we have another piece of digital art, and it looks like a take on a pride flag, that these are like several pride flags put together. I see we have the progress flag on the top left corner. We have the trans pride flag in the top center. We have the bisexual pride flag on the top right. We have this message at the bottom that says, "Don't be afraid to show your true colors," by Lila B. That is wonderful. Audrey, was there any other information for this piece?
Nope, that's all I got for this piece. So, but I think honestly, the message on it also speaks for itself. True, like, you know, staying to your true colors. And I love that they included multiple flags for, you know, and because there are so many. And I actually was just talking about today with some of my kiddos at school is all the different flags and how they're important. They're like, well, I don't understand why there's so many flags. I'm like, because it represents who they are and they feel like they have some sort of sense, you know, of belonging. And, you know, I think, and it's just also, you know, it's awesome to see all these amazing, you know, identities represented. And I mean, obviously there's so many more flags and identities that aren't shown here, but.
I want to bring attention to that bottom one, the purple, green, and white flag, because that's not a flag that a lot of people see. And I love that it got included. That is the pride flag for being genderqueer. So the colors are supposed to be a take on like neutrality. So the purple is like a mix of that blue and pink, which is usually boys are blue and girls are pink. The white flag is supposed to be indicative of like neutrality, of androgyny, of just like sort of a hub of neutral identities. It's similar to the white stripe that you see in transgender flags. And then the green stripe is supposed to be like the inverse of that blue and pink, where it's supposed to be more about like identities outside of that binary. So when we're talking about our gender binary, we're talking about being a boy or being a girl. And we know that we go beyond that binary quite a bit, and that it's not necessarily a binary system that we're working with anymore. So that green is supposed to be like the inverted version of that purpley lavendery color, and that's supposed to show all of those identities that go beyond that binary. It's a really cool flag, and it doesn't get a lot of attention, and I'm super excited to see it in this.
That is really exciting. And when I first looked at it, I really wasn't sure what that flag was, because I look at the flag on the bottom right-hand corner. And so the colors of the asexual flag and the non-binary flag are very similar. This flag in the bottom right-hand corner is the asexual pride flag, but the non-binary pride flag has yellow in it and the same like purple and the black and white colors. So I was looking at that and I was like, oh, was that the non-binary flag? But that gender neutral, the gender queer flag is absolutely like that. You don't see that. You do not see that every day. That's really wonderful representation and a really wonderful like distinction, because I don't feel like we talk about gender queer and gender fluid as gender identities as much. It's really, I see a lot of people talk about identifying as non-binary. So that was really cool to see too. Awesome. Thank you so much, Lila, for submitting this. Our next piece. Oh my goodness. So this piece we have actually, we have a lot of information submitted for this piece. So this is from a 7th grade student and the piece is titled Wind, W-Y-N-D. And this is what the artist had to say about the piece. Wind is a character from a book series I recently started reading. Wind never refers to himself as being gay or bi in the book, but I've simply seen him acknowledge his attraction to other boys on multiple occasions. Not only that, but when said attraction is acknowledged around other characters, it never elicits a homophobic response or anything to even indicate the possibility of one. Wind may be gay or a bi character, but it was never really said that it really was never said that he is. Wind has found himself liking a gardener named Thorn. That is what we know about this character here, Wind. And I absolutely love the idea of creating a character and creating a story about about a queer character centering around their experience without explicitly stating it, right? How cool is it that we can get to a point in time where we can tell these stories without, centering everything around that one specific identity. I think that is so important and kind of like the next step in furthering LGBTQ representation. What do you think?
I mean, I really enjoyed it because I'm curious to what this book is, because I'm gonna have to look it up and see if I can figure it out, because it's so awesome to, have these people read these books and also like have an idea in their mind of what this character is supposed to look like to them, because imagine if someone else read it, it might look a little different, right? And that's how we just also feel our identities are presented. Because I don't know if this ever happened to anyone else, but if you've read a book and then they make a movie and it's not the person they made in the movie doesn't look anything like the character you imagine, that's kind of how I feel. And I'm like, I wonder if they ever made this book into a movie, if that's, it'd be interesting to see that. But I love that this is how in their mind, through even their own experiences, comparing it to the book they read, this is how they imagine this character. And I think that's super cool.
I love too that it was created by someone in 7th grade, because I didn't really know how to find LGBTQ centric media until I was in college. And part of it was just because I didn't know it was what I was looking for. And part of it was that I don't know what I would have found, or where I would have even started looking for that. So I love to see that younger and younger our people are accessing this media about stories and characters who look like them and who have shared experiences with them, because we know that literature and books in general and TV and all these different things, like all the stuff that we're consuming really shapes us. And so being able to find more and more stories about people who look like us and act like us is incredible. And being able to find that younger and being able to explore who you are when you're younger is such an amazing experience. And I'm so glad that people are getting to experience that more. Um, and I love that people are like, yeah, it's just part of the character, but it's not the whole central thing. Because Emily, I say in our trainings all the time, my partner is phenomenal. She's so cool, but she's not the most interesting thing about me. And so I feel like that's a really authentic look into being LGBTQ, where it's not the most interesting thing about me or the most important thing about me, but it is still important. And when it factors in big.
That is such a great point. If you ever catch Amy and I at a Safe Zone training, we will walk people through the coming out model. And the last step, everyone thinks the last step of coming out is pride and being like, hello, I am LGBTQ, here I am, I am here, I am queer. And people think that that's where it really stops. And the last step of the coming out model is actually called synthesis. And what it means is, you are taking your queer experience and it is one part of your life, just like Amy said. Like, our partners are amazing and they're like wonderful people. They are not the most exciting or interesting thing about either one of us. Being able to synthesize that and be like, hello, my name is Emily. Like, I live in Rochester. I have a really cool job. I have hobbies. And also, like, my girlfriend's really cool, is really the goal here.
Emily, you gave away, for any of our friends who are going to be coming to our Safe Zone training on the 11th, you've just given away a hot tip. So I'd be paying close attention to this training or to this art gallery.
That's very true. We are giving away the answers.
Way to go, Emily.
I forgot I'm being recorded. Our next piece, another digital art piece. Again, I'm absolutely loving all of these submissions. We have somebody here who has made somebody and is actually blurred out and like blacked out their eyes so you can't see like what their face looks like. And it's the text on top says, "Don't hide yourself, love yourself." And they're wearing a really cool shirt that says "Love is love." And this was submitted by an artist named Axel / Portia Dalton. So thank you for that submission. I'm looking at it again. I really think that this also plays into the theme of like, this experience is like part of me, but it's not the whole thing, to the point where like you don't even know who I am saying this.
And I think all of this art that we've gotten so far is really, whether they meant to or not, it's all honing in on that theme that we have this year for Pride, which is to live authentically. We were talking about Pride this year and we said we don't want the messaging to be like, well, in spite of everything, here we still are. We want the messaging to be like, no, we're so excited to be here and we're thriving and we're being who we are. And this is my life and these are my experiences and this is my support net and all of these other things. And it's all about bringing that authenticity and being able to lean into the things that are so important to you and to know how to find people around you. And all of this artwork that we've gotten has, again, leaned right into that theme of don't hide yourself, love yourself, know that you have a space to exist just as you are. I'm kind of thinking back on that first piece of art where we had so many different bodies and so many different pride flags and identities and gender identities and all of these things, and everybody belonged. I love to see the way that this artwork is really hammering home that idea of just living authentically and being exactly who you are.
Oh, so beautifully said. So well said. Audrey, do you have anything you'd like to say about this piece?
You just take all the words out of my mouth, both of you. It's just so hard. How am I supposed to follow up on that? But no, you really did. And I was thinking authenticity when I was seeing this piece too, which is so important, because I've gotten to live as my true self. And, that was such a different experience. But seeing, their authenticity coming through this piece, but also you pointed out the blurriness and then the block across their eyes, and I was like trying to figure out like how that, the meaning behind that, which I mean, like, yes, you don't hide yourself to love yourself, but like you can still love yourself, and you don't have to be like you're synthesizing. It's not just who you are, your identity, you're more than that, and you're more than that, and you're more than your partner or whoever. And I think that's super important, and I was just so excited to see all this work, really. So, but I can't outdo the both of you with your words. They're so awesome. So
We are down to our last 3 submissions for the art show, and we are about to unveil our first piece of like hand-drawn paper submissions. I'm very excited. This wonderful rainbow piece was submitted by Nicolette, and there was actually a description included with the submission. So I will read that out loud. This was drawn by my child, Nicolette. Nicolette is 5 and was born a girl, but identifies as a boy. They love Spider-Man, dinosaurs, and dragons. Our family, especially me, her mother, supports Coco and lets them lead the way in their choice of clothing, toys, expression, etc., as all parents should. Coco loves to draw rainbows. It is their favorite thing to draw. Oh my goodness, isn't this the future? This is the sweetest thing I've ever seen.
Are you seeing me just like turn into a puddle in my office right now? Oh my gosh. The support and the just like, oh my gosh, just the idea of being like,
Nicolette
no.
is here to say thank you.
our artist
Oh my gosh, our artist is here.
Here.
Hi, Coco.
Oh, how do I turn on the video?
Here.
Oh, I don't know how to get the video on, but she's here.
Oh,
to
your
talk.
video's on.
Oh, is it?
You had a wonderful Disney background, though. That's okay.
Oh my gosh, I had no idea we were going to be in the presence of greatness tonight.
Oh, hello, Coco.
Hi.
How are you?
Oh my gosh, we get to hear from the artist themselves.
Yes. You excited that your art's on there?
Yeah.
What does that mean to you? Is it nice that you get to, mommy kind of lets you do your own thing and supports you? Yeah. And what are we doing too? We're also doing the 51-mile challenge for the Trevor Project.
Oh, amazing.
So as her mom, I'm all in for her because I love her so much and I'm so proud of her.
Oh my gosh. Well, I was just about to talk about how incredible it is to hear little ones being supported and uplifted by parents, because we know that that's not always the case. We know that sometimes families can have a really hard time with it and maybe not understand what it means or where it's coming from. Oh my gosh. And here we are in the presence of an artist who's being validated and affirmed. Oh, it's all we could ask for.
I'm not gonna lie, I was gonna start crying. So it's awesome to hear, and we got to see everything. That was great.
Awesome. I'm so happy that her art was shown, and I'm happy to support as an ally and as her mother. So I'm so proud of her. I'm proud of all of you too.
Oh my goodness.
Thank you. Oh,
This is amazing.
I don't know how to I'm feeling like all sorts of emotions right now, like so many good ones though. Like I want to cry. I want to, I'm just so happy. My face is hurting from smiling. It was really beautiful, honestly, to read that and hear that. So thank you both so much.
Oh my goodness.
Thank you
And thank
so
you
much, Coco.
Yes, thank you so much for your vulnerability and in talking to us and showing us your art again. Oh my gosh. And this is really, these are the allies we talk about when we're talking about why pride exists and why it's so important, right? These are the people we never would have known. We never would have known who was on this call with us if it hadn't been for showing this beautiful rainbow. And here the whole time we've had this amazing ally here. And that's exactly what we're talking about when we're talking about pride and why pride is so important. Because we know that even if it's not an identity that we personally have or that we understand, we're still here to support it. And we don't have to understand something to respect something. And I think you're showing that amazingly. You don't necessarily have to understand to say, like, this is my kiddo, and I'm so proud. And here are all the ways that I'm supporting, and here are all the ways that I'm continuing to learn how to support. And that is something, that allyship is something that cannot be understated. And so for all of our friends who are joining us in this video and watching this art show with us, and all of our friends who have donated their art to this show, you're our wave makers. You're our future. Like, you are the people who drive us forward every single day. And it's just, oh my gosh, I got goosebumps now. It's just, you're the reason we're able to be here and do this. And I think that that needs to be validated and affirmed. And what a great way to start Pride.
Amazing. And I actually just want to add to it, because I mean, these people are going to see this and hear this stuff. And I think it's gonna be so important. And you're in tears. I'm honestly almost in tears too, but I think what's going to be great is when we share this with the whole world could see this, and I think it's going to be so important. So imagine other 5-year-olds or other kiddos and even adults seeing this, and, even especially if they didn't get to have that experience as a child. I know, Amy, you mentioned you didn't get a lot of this positive stuff until college. Like, imagine how amazing this will feel for them to see and hear about this. And I think that's going to be really awesome.
Yes, I can't say thank you enough. And Coco, is it okay if we put this on our social media and keep spreading it around so other people can see it?
Is it okay?
Yeah.
She said, yeah.
Yay! Amazing. We are going
How
to
do we get our hands on autographs from the artist is what I want to know.
Oh my gosh, we would love to come and visit the office in person and meet you guys all in person. That would be amazing.
Oh my gosh, yes, we should. And we should all color together soon. That would be really cool. We're going to be posting all of our submissions on our social media all Pride Month long. So yes, please stay tuned to see all of these wonderful submissions on our Facebook, our Instagram, our Twitter, all over the social media sphere. After that amazing unveiling, we have two more submissions to see. I literally don't know how we're going to top this. So this is our submission from Lauren. It looks like this is a painting that they did themselves of a hummingbird. That's amazing. This is the caption that was submitted with the painting. I create original painted wood burnings. This hummingbird was a Mother's Day gift for someone. I enjoy capturing the beauty of nature on a natural medium. I love this. Audrey?
Yeah, I mean, I was just excited to see this because I think when we think of Pride art, we're like, oh, it has to be rainbows, it has to be this, and it has to be that. But I think people forget it's whatever you want it to be, and it's meant to represent something that's important to you. And I think I think that was really awesome to see that. And it was just really awesome. And I was excited because it's just the natural beauty and what's really, represents them. And because there could be so much more meaning behind this that we don't see. And I think that's really, really cool.
Well, and I think that the excitement in having this Pride gallery is that not only are we uplifting Pride-centric artwork, we're also uplifting queer voices in our community, and we're giving them a showcase. And so even though it's not necessarily like rainbows and all these Pride themes, like, there's still, you know, you could pull those colors of the genderqueer flag, or you could pull the colors of any of the pride flags out. And I think that there's something to be said about the worker bee mentality of that hummingbird, and how there's so much beauty that that's where they make their home. They make their homes in beauty. And I think that's a really beautiful way of looking at that. And what a beautiful piece of art. Oh my goodness.
Oh, what a beautiful piece of art. I absolutely agree with both of you. This is definitely a unique piece. I'm so glad that we got this submission. We're gonna be posting it all month long. This is amazing. Thank you so much, Lauren, for submitting this. And our last piece of art for the night is, ta-da, this wonderful drawing from Tobin S. It looks like there wasn't a description with the submission, but it looks like this was a hand drawing, and it looks like there's somebody on the left hand side, and then on the right hand side it's a flower. It's signifying blooming and flourishing and growing, and it looks like that has happened simultaneously with being prideful in themselves and having that kind of pride and celebration in who you are. I think that's a beautiful metaphor for what it feels like to come out and live as your true authentic self. You know what I mean?
I think too that it's showing that, so to me, what this picture is saying is that even though the flower has not fully bloomed, they're still here and existing and celebrating pride as best they can while still learning and growing. And I think that really hones in on that whole point of pride of, you could be 300 years into your LGBTQ journey, or you could be 2.5 hours into your LGBTQ journey, and you're still a member of our community, and you still belong, and you are still learning and growing and finding your place. And so I think that this artwork does a really beautiful job of showing, like, blooming into who you know yourself to be as you're coming out, while maybe still learning some things and figuring that out for yourself, and really trying to figure out how we're going to actualize ourselves.
I just love that there's so many interpretations based off the one piece, because we didn't get a description. So I love that there could be so many meanings behind it. And I think that's awesome. And I was just so excited to see all this. And it was so unique in each of their own ways. We got a little bit of, everything too, like digital art, hand coloring and drawing. We got a wood burning painting piece, which was so cool. And I just love, I love that there's some meaning behind this, whether, maybe they are still along the way, and maybe they haven't been able to be their true authentic self yet, but they're still growing, or maybe they, maybe they're almost there, they are there. And, we hope that people, whether they're along the way or they're there, knowing that they're always welcome and they're always supported, especially, by us, and, hopefully in their community, and that, they can continue to bloom and grow and be their real authentic self. And I think that's awesome.
Absolutely wonderfully said. This was a really great piece, I think, for us to leave off on, because again, there are so many interpretations. If you have different experiences, you are going to interpret, every piece a little differently, and there is room for absolutely everybody's experience. And there's been a bunch of them portrayed here tonight. I want to thank everybody again for submitting their pieces, and for wanting to spend Pride and celebrate Pride with us this year. I think it's really wonderful that everyone took the time to sit down and make a piece of art to share with us for the month. It's absolutely wonderful.
So as a final plug, just to talk a little bit about what's happening the rest of the month, you can find all of our information on Facebook at FLX Pride, or at the Center of the Finger Lakes, either page. We're sharing everything there. We've got a bunch of events that are going on sprinkled throughout the month. So on our website, you will find our calendar of events. including the safe zone on the 11th that Emily already gave you an answer to. So we've got a lot going on with that, and we are really looking forward to being able to get all of this out there for you and to see all the different ways that you attend. One of our favorite things that we have this month is our month-long raffle online. So that's live. We'll be getting that up on our Facebook. Audrey, you're much more hip with the times than I am if you want to plug all of our other social media. But we are all over the place and we've got a lot going on. So we really hope that you will be able to join us for 1 or 2 events. On the 5th, so this coming Sunday, we are doing a picnic at Seneca Lake State Park from about 11 to 5 p.m. And while we're there, we're going to be having a gender affirming clothing swap. Everything is free. You're able to come and take whatever clothing best affirms your identity. You don't have to pay. You don't have to trade another piece of clothing to be able to take another piece. The whole point is just to make it a safe and accessible means of exploring identity. So we're really looking forward to seeing everybody. If you've got any questions, you can always feel free to reach out. Thank you so much to all of our artists and to Emily and Audrey for getting this going. What an amazing way to kick Pride Month off.